Hello Talisman fans, welcome back to Let's Play Talisman. Of course it's the beginning of our turn, so let's do it. And see what happens to our stat-grabbing dwarf at the moment. That's right, we're actually gaining some stats, which has not really been a trend in the previous two runs, at least not this early on. We're evil, thanks to Mephistopheles changing our alignment. So we can't go to the chapel because it'll cost us a life. So really our only option here is to go to the village. We have 1 gold, which isn't enough to buy anything from the blacksmith. And we can't go to the healer because we haven't lost a life. So it's going to have to be the random die roll mystic visit, unfortunately. But we could benefit here. Let's see. 1. Become evil. Well, we're already evil, so kind of a redundant visit to the mystic. Couldn't you tell? Are you not mystic enough to be able to tell whether I'm evil or not? I mean, if you can make me evil, presumably you can see whether I am. Anyway, Minstrel rolled a 6. You may remember from last time that... Oh, he found a talisman. The thing we all covet, sort of. You may remember from last time that I don't know what the deal is with this Grim Reaper. And I was going to go away and watch the episode and see where the Grim Reaper popped up, but I couldn't be bothered. So I'm just pressing on straight away without figuring him out. It'll be an adventure. Discover who the Grim Reaper really is. Okay. So the druids found the Holy Grail, which is going to require him to become good, or at least neutral. He decided to go full good, which was an interesting shift. I would have gone with neutral because it doesn't rule out objects from either side of the spectrum. Okay, 2. So we could go and pray at the graveyard. Or we could go to the forest where we won't have to roll a die because we have a guide as a follower. Let's go to the graveyard. Maybe prayer will achieve something good. We do have to fight the ghost, but we have 5 craft already. I feel like we've got a decent enough chance. Let's do it. Oh! He's actually beating us. Is it worth spending a fate point to re-roll? I'm going to say yes. Bugger. Oh well, we lost a life. Which also, I think, means we don't get to pray in the graveyard. Yeah. Which is silly, really. Or, at least, an evil character who goes to the graveyard is healed free of cost, I think. Oh no, you get your fate points back free of cost. My mistake. Anyway, let's just press on. So, Minstrel is... Oh, he actually spent a fate point to re-roll. Why? It couldn't have been that bad a roll. He could have just gone to the fields. He's picked up the mercenary. You have to pay gold to take him with you, but then you also have to pay a gold each time you want to use him in combat. So he can end up being expensive. Monk is going to those fields that the Minstrel was so averse to. Craft of 2 enemy shouldn't give him much trouble. Yeah, especially if it rolls a 1. So not a big deal for the monk there. Now, monk, do you fancy taking on that ghost who's in the graveyard? Get some revenge for me. Avenge my murder, sort of. The druid's going to the blacksmith. What's he going to pick up? Didn't see. Let's have a look. He picked up an axe. Good choice. I would like to have an axe. Because even though I don't have immediate, imminent plans to go into the middle region, it's nice to have the option. And we'd also be able to get rid of the sword. Because we'd then have the axe for combat, as well as for axe building. Raft building, rather. So we'll draw a card here. Amulet. You can't cast spells, and no spells will affect you. Which would be a problem if we had any, but we haven't drawn even a single spell so far, so that's actually not a terrible pickup. On the other hand, one of our stat gains was because someone cast random on us. So, spells that are potentially beneficial like that also won't be able to affect us. So, it's not necessarily a great effect, but I think it's probably positive on balance in our situation. The Minstrel I believe, evaded that ape. He could take him as a follower, but I don't know whether he did. Let's have a look. No, he didn't. Interesting. There's really no reason not to, unless he just wants to make this space a bit more of a pain for other people. The Enchantress has turned someone into a toad! We haven't seen that yet. Let's see what happens. Okay, I think the toad can only move one space, but I think in addition to that it has to drop all its objects. Maybe even also its followers. The druid's gone over there and picked up the objects that the monk dropped. Oh, bad luck, frog monk. The toad also has Strength 1, Craft 1, which is obviously a serious problem. As for the next 3 turns, he's going to have those low stats, no objects to fall back on, and he's still going to have to roam around the board. Looks like he didn't have any followers to drop anyway, so we don't know at the moment whether he would have had to drop some, but he did have to drop all his objects. Okay, so we've rolled a 4. We could go to the village. We don't have enough gold to buy an axe, which is unfortunate. The alternative is the crags, where we wouldn't have to roll because we're a dwarf, but we would also basically just pass a turn. We wouldn't benefit at all. So I guess go to the Mystic, because the worst thing you can possibly roll on the Mystic is become evil, and we're already evil, so that won't hurt. We could pay gold to the healer, but our lives aren't in serious danger, so let's just go to the Mystic. 6. Gain a spell while we're carrying an item that doesn't allow us to use spells. So we can actually gain it, but we won't be able to cast it. Destroy magic. No character, including yourself, may cast a spell or use any magic object until the start of your next turn. I don't think that spell is good enough for me to bother dropping the amulet just to be able to use it. If a situation arises where that seems to be a thing that we want to do, then we can always consider that. But really, the destroy magic spell isn't a big deal. Unless we feel threatened by someone who we know has a powerful magic item or something. Storm. I think that's everyone misses a turn in this region, but we're all in this region anyway, so it balances out. Ah, the Grim Reaper. Okay. So you have to roll a die when you and the Grim Reaper cross paths. And see what the effect is. That's actually interesting, but I still don't know what brought it up, whether it was an adventure card or what. I missed it. So anyway, roll a 1, which is fine, don't really mind. Fields or fields. Let's see what we run into. We've got a fairy. Fairy seeks a champion. So the first good character here shall grant one of the following wishes. But we're evil, and even before that we were neutral, so the fairy will have to remain here on this space until a good person arrives. Which at the moment is either the minstrel or the frog monk. So, oh, we get another turn? Is that related to the storm? I'm not clear on that. But in any case, let's roll. We could go over there and try to mug the minstrel. We have the strength to pull it off. He doesn't have much in the way of physical strength. He's carrying 2 talismans. How did that happen? He does have the mercenary and enough gold to pay him, so that would be an option for the guy, I guess. He'll add 3 to your strength, which would take the minstrel up to 5, which would still not be enough to equal us, but it would be enough to put up a fight. Does he have anything worth stealing, though? He only has the 2 talismans, so the answer there is no. What's in this space? A demon, which is a high craft enemy, I believe. It's not... Huh? Oh, okay. Okay, that's right. That wasn't my turn, it was the Grim Reaper's turn. Maybe he should have moved him onto the minstrel then. If I'd realised, that's probably what I would have done, but never mind. This whole Grim Reaper thing has thrown me for a bit of a loop here. Okay, the Frog Monk has drawn the maze, which is not a big deal for us, because our dwarf power allows us to get through the maze anyway. 3. Okay, I'm going to say it's tempting to go back to the graveyard and try to restore a fate point for free, but the reason that we lost that fate point in the first place was we used it battling the ghost that's hanging around there. So let's go to the ruins instead. Draw a card. Unicorn. Follower, add 1 to your strength and 1 to your craft. Good follower. Yes, I'll take it. And let's go through the magic portal. 5. Temple. So we're actually moving into the middle region here without the benefit of a raft. But the temple is a dangerous place. There are some very bad effects here. Let's see what happens. 10. Gain a talisman. Actually, don't really want it. So, I mean, we're in the middle region and we have a talisman. And with Strength 7 and Craft 5, I guess we could try to make a run into the inner region. But I don't feel suitably set up for it, to be honest. I feel like our stats and things are still a little on the low side here. I think the minstrel very wisely, actually, had one of his 2 talismans turned into gold in the city, so I think that was a pretty good choice. Okay, our options here are Warlock's Cave, where you can accept a quest, and if you complete the quest, he'll give you a talisman, which is redundant since we just found one. Or we could go here to the Portal of Power and draw a card. Let's do that. Cross. If you're evil, you don't lose a life in the chapel. If you're good, you don't lose a life in the graveyard. And you can automatically destroy any spirits without resorting to psychic combat. But you can't keep them as trophies towards a stat gain if you do that. I reckon take that and drop the amulet. It's tempting to drop the talisman since I don't want it right now, but I've made that mistake before, if you recall, casting a talisman aside for another object and then immediately realising I needed it. The amulet's protection from spells is good, but considering we now have a spell of our own that we might want to use at some point, I think the cross is more beneficial than the amulet, so let's drop it. And that will wrap up our turn, unless we do want to cast Destroy Magic. No count, including yourself, may cast a spell or use a magic object until the start of your next turn. If we had the wand, I would cast this just to be able to get another spell. As it is, you know what? I'm just going to use it. I don't think Destroy Magic is a particularly good spell. So, let's do it. Get it out there. Now, who is it who's carrying the wand? Someone is. Someone isn't. Someone lost it? I know someone drew the wand. Did they have it turned into gold or something? That's interesting. Frustrating, because if someone still had it, I would try and mug them for it. But never mind, I guess. There's a hermit on the oasis. Why does the hermit always end up on the oasis? He never goes anywhere else. We've had 3 games of Talisman now, and in every single one, the hermit has ended up on the oasis. Alright. So, the minstrel is going that way. Probably a good choice. The monk is back to being a monk instead of a toad. The minstrel gained gold from the shrine, which isn't terrible, obviously. Enchantress, risky. Last time you did that, you became a toad. But this time he gained a craft. So, good visit. Maybe she felt bad or something. It's a remorse craft gift. Okay, Druid draws a card. Solomon's Crown. It's a good item. It is a good item. Okay, well I guess we'd better roll. 3. So, we've got the hills, where we draw a card, and we would be able to evade combat there with our dwarf power. Now, notice, actually, a couple of things about this space. Firstly, I like the entrance here to the bridge across the river, to where the sentinel stands. I like that design. It's kind of cool. The other thing is, notice how the regions change. The outer region, all fertile and green. Middle region, still fine, but slightly bleaker, a bit more yellow and dried out. And then, of course, the inner region is just this hellish wasteland. Anyway, what's the alternative? The woods, draw a card. So, it's basically draw a card or draw a card, except the hills give us the option to evade unwanted combat. So let's do that. Dragon. Could take the dragon on. We do have the strength to do so. We could evade it. I wouldn't mind another strength gain, actually. Since we have a talisman, gaining another strength point might push us just enough over the edge to try and make a run on the inner region. So let's encounter the dragon. Yeah, not going to evade. Going to fight the bastard. 2. Okay. I know I used a fate point in our last combat unsuccessfully, but I'm going to use one now as well. 6. Yes. Yes. Dwarf wins. Dwarf trades the dragon for strength. There we go. Strength of 8. Good stuff. Minstrel used the fate point to re-roll. So he really didn't like that first roll. Oh, Pestilence. All characters in the outer regions lose 1 life. Which is all characters except us. So that was a bit of luck. It was lucky that the magic portal took us into the middle region. Okay. Monk got a 6, so it's a corner-to-corner run for him. He's gone to the tavern. Not really the place for a monk, one would think. And very much so. Clearly the farmer agrees. Tavern farmer. Quite how he farms a tavern, I don't know. But he's farmed that monk right in the face. Well, actually, it's a draw, but never mind. But the monk spent a point to re-roll, and he won. So, on to the druid, who also rolls a 6. Oh, and he gets to draw his full complement of spells from that space, which is now 3 because his craft is at 8, which is an insane craft score. Don't bother taking the sword, you've got an axe already. Good choice. The AI does seem slightly improved now, I have to say. I don't know if there has been an update. I assume there has, because we haven't seen the Grim Reaper before, and some other odds and ends seem to have changed a little bit, so maybe it has been updated. I didn't notice. Okay, we don't want to go to the Black Knight, because you have to either give him a life or a gold. Look at that guy. He looks fearsome. Actually, he looks a bit like a Drakkar from Lone Wolf, which is appropriate considering Gary Chalk, the Lone Wolf illustrator, illustrated the 2nd edition of Talisman. Let's go to the runes, I guess. Any creatures you fight there add 2 to their rolls, which could be tricky, but we don't have a lot of choice. Shield. Shield's alright. What else are we carrying, though? Sword, magic belt, talisman, cross. I'm going to say leave the shield. Again, I haven't been planning to go into the inner region yet, but we are right here. So it might actually be worth considering. So I think holding on to the talisman would be a good choice. If we had a mule, I'd take both, but our muleless life continues. Not once have we had a mule in either this episode or previous ones, with either of our previous characters. And that trend has continued. But no one else has found a mule either. Acquisition. Don't steal from me. Don't steal from me. Take the talisman. Take the talisman. Take the... oh, you fucker. So actually, we could have taken the shield if I'd known that was going to happen. But he might have taken something else then anyway. That's frustrating though, because the cross is such a good object. It lets you just get rid of spirits without having to fight them. Well, anyway, let's not be sore about it. Let's take our 5 roll. We could go to the Oasis, encounter the Hermit and draw a card. Have no need for the Hermit because we have a Talisman already. If we go over here, we could pick up the Amulet again. But if we're planning on going into the inner region, then that would actually not help, because I think it prevents us casting the command spell. Yes. And we can't draw a card on that space because there's a card already on it. So, I'm going to say the Oasis. Although we have no use for the Hermit at all, we at least draw another card. So let's encounter these 2. He gives us a Talisman, whether we want it or not. And the maiden follower will give us 2 extra craft, which is very handy. I am starting to feel like we could get into the middle region here, or the inner region, rather. I'm going to drop one of our 2 talismans, because I'm not the sort of person who likes to hoard redundant talismans. And the minstrel is faced with a choice. He's going to go to the chapel, which is a good choice. He can heal if necessary. Or he could have prayed, I guess, but he seemed to do neither. Maybe he healed, I didn't notice. Monk found some gold in the woods. And the Grim Reaper is going to move around a little bit. The druid missed a turn? Oh, he must have got lost in the forest, I guess. I didn't notice that happening. So, he missed a turn, we get another. 5. Doesn't quite take us to the Portal of Power, but it does take us back to the shield, so frankly, we might as well take it. It gives us that little bit of survivability in tougher combats. If we go into the middle region, the inner region rather, we will probably have at least 1 combat. Because we would probably go round the strength route, which would take us to the werewolf's den, where we'd have to fight the werewolf again. As we did the last time when we were the warrior. The monk went into the maze, but that's okay. He has the craft to not miss a turn there. Druid's got the pixie. Good follower. Allows evasion on certain spaces. 6. Bugger it. Let's try. This is very quick, actually. I mean, this is only the 2nd episode of this run, and we're already pushing into the the inner region. I keep making that mistake. But let's have a go. So we're going to have to bypass the Portal of Power. How are we going to do that? We'll try and force it, since strength is our higher stat. Actually, we had an ability about the Portal of Power and Craft, didn't we? You only roll 1 die if you attempt to open the Portal of Power by Craft. So since our Craft is almost as high as our strength anyway, let's do that. So instead of roll 2 dice if the total is equal to or less than your chosen ability, we roll 1, which actually means we can't fail with a Craft of 7. So we'll pick the lock. Even though we rolled a 6, that's fine. Let's continue to the Plane of Peril. So, unexpectedly, we're actually going to push into the middle region here. And although it's slightly shorter, this episode, I think that's an opportune time to leave it here. Rejoin me the next time as we begin our assault on the middle region. The inner region, goddammit! And see if we can actually, for the 2nd time in a row, advance on the Crown of Command. So until next time, thanks for watching. Bye for now.